We just studied the Sutram 6.3.25, Anang Rito Dvandve. Let us now take the next Sutram in the Ashtadhyayi order, the Sutram which reads Devata Dvandve Cha. The anuvritti of Anang comes down from that prior Sutram 6.3.25 into this Sutram 6.3.26. And of course we know the Adhikara of Uttarapade, which runs throughout this third quarter of the sixth chapter of the Ashtadhyayi. The very first sutram of this quarter is Aluguttarapade, and from that Uttarapade comes down all the way to the end of this quarter of the Ashtadhyayi. So putting all that together, the vritti says Ihottarapade pare anang. Iha tarapade pare anang. Quite straightforward meaning. When the final term of the compound follows, there is a substitution of anang in place of the penultimate term in the Dvandvaha compound, whose terms denote names of deities. The meaning of Devata, of course, is a deity. Hence, say Devata Dvandvaha is a Dvandvaha compound whose terms denote names of deities. In such a compound, the penultimate member of the compound takes a substitution anang. Why penultimate member? Because, as we already mentioned, the adhikara of Uttarapade is coming down here, which means when the final member of a compound follows, which obviously means the operation is taking place on the penultimate member of the compound. Okay. The first note here gives a small vartikam which says that Vayu Shabda Prayoge Pratishedhaha, which means that the substitution anang is prohibited if the Dvandvaha compound contains Vayu as the final or prior member. For example, there is no substitution anang in the compounds Agnishcha Vayushcha equals Agnivayu or Vayavagni, since each of the terms Agni and Vayu contains one Guru vowel and one Lagu vowel. Therefore, either of them could be placed in the prior position in the compound, and hence we get the two forms. But in neither of them is the substitution anang allowed. So even though Vayu denotes the name of a deity, the wind god, still this Vartikam says that if the Dvandvaha compound contains Vayu as the final or penultimate member, no substitution anang takes place. Now, you may have observed one point already, which is why is the term Dvandve being repeated in this Sutram 6.3.26? It could have easily been taken as anuvritti from the prior Sutram 6.3.25 Anang Rito Dvandve. The next note answers that question. Punar Dvandva Grahanam Prasiddha Sahacharyasya Parigrahartham. The term Dvandva is mentioned in this Sutram in spite of being available as anuvritti from the prior Sutram in order to convey the fact that the substitution anang takes place only if the terms of a Dvandvaha compound denote names of deities whose association, sahacharyam, is well known, prasiddham. So for example, Tena Brahma Prajapati Ityado Nanang. In compounds such as Brahma Prajapati, the substitution anang does not take place. By etadhi naika havirbhagitvena shrutan napi loke prasiddham sahacharyam. Etad hi na eka havirbhagitvena shrutam na api loke prasiddham sahacharyam. Hence, for example, there is no substitution anang in compounds such as Brahmacha Prajapatischa equals Brahma Prajapati, because the association of the deities Brahma and Prajapati is well known neither in the Vedic sense as being the recipients of a common sacrificial offering, Havirbhagaha, nor in the worldly classical sense. Whenever Pāṇini repeats something like that which is not necessary, he is trying to convey something additional. And in this particular sutram, this is what is being conveyed by repeating the term Dvandve in this sutram 6.3.26, even though it could have been taken easily from the prior sutram 6.3.25. So unless the association of the deities is well known, this sutram does not apply. Okay, Let us take an example where this sutram does apply. Example is Mitrascha Varunascha equals Mitra Varunau. The deities Mitra and Varuna. The Alaukika Vigraha is Mitra Su plus Varuna Su, compounding of course prescribed by the Sutram 2.2.29 Charthe Dvandvaha. Note here says Mitra has 2 syllables while Varuna has 3, hence as per the Sutram 2.2.34 Alpachtaram. Mitra Su is placed in the prior position in this Dvandvaha compound. Next note here says that the entire form Mitra Su plus Varuna Su gets the designation Pratipadikam by 1.2.46 Krit Tajita Samasascha because we have formed a compound. This allows us to apply 2.4.71 Supo Dhatu Pratipadikayoho to perform the look elision on the sup affixes Su and Su which are inside the compound Pratipadikam. So now we get Mitra plus Varuna. Now at this point the conditions for applying the present Sutram 6.3.26 Devata Dvandvecha are satisfied because we do have a Dvandvaha compound in which the terms denote the names of deities and hence we substitute Anang in place of the penultimate term of the compound which is Mitra. And as per the Sutram 1.153 Nich, only the ending letter A of Mitra takes the substitution Anang. So now we have Mitra Anang plus Varuna. Remove these letters. The nasal vowel A following the letter Na in Anang gets the designation It by 132 Upadeshe Janunasika It. The ending letter Ng gets the designation It by the Sutram 133 Halantyam. Both take Lopaha by 139 Tasya Lopaha. Note here says now Mitran has the designation Padam by the Sutram 1.4.14 Suptingantam Padam. With the help of the Paribhasha Sutram 1.162 Pratyaya Lope Pratyaya Lakshanam. So even though the sup affix Su following Mitra took the look elision by 2.4.71, it leaves a Lakshanam behind. That is enough for us to assign the Padasanya to Mitran, which in turn allows us to apply 8.2.7 No lopa of Pratipadikantasya to perform the lopa elision on the letter Na of Mitran. The letter Na is at the end of a padam and also at the end of a pratipadikam. Hence 8.2.7 applies and we get the final compound pratipadikam Mitra Varuna. And as per the Sutram 2.4.26 Paravalingan Dvandvatat Purushayoho, the compound pratipadikam Mitra Varuna is masculine since the final member Varuna of the compound is masculine. This Dvandvaha compound which expresses Itaretara Yoga is dual in number because it has 2 members, declines like Rama Shabdaha, only in the dual.